Welcome. We are here today to speak to Prof Raymond Parsons on the current economic climate in South Africa. Good morning, Prof Parsons.
Thank you.
Can you maybe give us some indications of the current economic situation in South Africa and how it affects business?
Well, this is a good time of the year to be talking about this, the economic outlook and where we may be going next year with the South African economy. Because we are moving towards the end of the year, and it's the time when everyone starts to look into the crystal ball to see what might happen. And I think if we look back over the past year or so, quite clearly we must start with the world economy, which has faced very big challenges, not just South Africa, but also the world economy. We've seen slower growth, higher risks, big problems in the Eurozone, in the United States, and even in China, who are the three big players who have to take decisions over the next few months, which could affect how the world economy will perform next year. And that's important for South Africa because it affects our exports. We're a small, open economy, and we like to enlarge our share of trade and investment in the world economy. So how the world economy performs is really quite important, though there's very little we as a small country can do about it. If we turn to South Africa, we must, however, not hide behind what's happening in the world economy. We have seen a slowing down in our economy. We've seen other challenges, such as Marikana. So we have ended the year also having to ask ourselves some important questions about what can we do internally to have a better economic performance next year. Now, this year, as I said, we did see a slowing down in our economy. We are expecting to grow at perhaps 2.5%, which is perhaps better than some other countries, but simply not good enough for South Africa, given our unemployment and our poverty challenges. So we're ending the year feeling that we must face up to some important decisions. Fortunately, we have some tools. We've got the new growth path, we've got the National Development Plan, and we will have to, as a country, as a business community, we will have to tackle these problems. It's not enough to say, well, the world economy and the South African situation generate a great deal of uncertainty. That is true, and that does affect the decision-making of business. But how you overcome that uncertainty is how you are perceived and seen to be tackling those problems, whether by government or by the private sector. We, of course, do have the shadow of Mangaung hanging over us, but that's more a question of really getting it out of the way, having the decisions now have to be taken at the political level as to who will be the team, the political team. But I think what we now have to say is once that is over, we then want leadership and direction from government with the cooperation of the private sector to tackle the fact that we ought to be growing more rapidly, we ought to be creating more jobs, and we ought to be seeing a growth rate of perhaps 3% or 3.5% next year if we take the right decisions. So although we share many of these challenges with some other of the emerging economies in the world, some are doing better than we are, including in Africa, some are doing worse than we are, we must say to ourselves, look, what matters now is how competitive can we be? How can we enlarge our share of world trade and world investment so that we can grow, we can create jobs, we can alleviate poverty? And for that, we need some leadership. We need a political leadership that will show direction after Mangaung. We need a business community that will also cooperate. We need a labor movement to help us to tackle some of the industrial relations problems that we now face. And you will also notice that too is no longer peculiar to South Africa. If you look at Europe, there are also strikes and industrial action. They don't like the austerity packages that are being imposed there to try and deal with their problems. But the fact remains, we cannot hide behind other people's problems. We must show our leadership, our quality of decision making, our ability to move into 2013 and say, we're going to tackle our problems, we're going to send out a message of hope, and we're going to build confidence that the true potential of this country can be unlocked. But it's not going to fall like manna from heaven. It's going to call for the closest collaboration between the government, business, and labor to make sure we take the right decisions and above all, implement them. If we could factor talking into our gross domestic product, we'd be the fastest growing economy in the world. So I think that the real message that one must now put out to all the key stakeholders in South Africa is that as we end 2012, we must go into 2013 saying we're going to do better, we're going to take the right decisions, and we're going to make sure that we implement them. We do that, we can make a big difference to the economic outlook and to how it affects the average citizen on the ground. And that's the message I think we need to address as we move into 2013.
Thank you very much.